Section 20 of the Fables of Pilpay. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Fables of Pilpay by Anonymous, translated by Abdullah Ibn al-Muqaffa and Joseph Harris. Section 20. The Rabbit, the Fox, and the Wolf. Fable 12. The Rabbit, the Fox, and the Wolf. A hungry wolf once spied a rabbit feeding at the foot of a tree, and was soon preparing to seize him. The rabbit, perceiving him, would have saved his life by flight, but the wolf threw himself in his way and stopped his escape, so that seeing himself in the power of the wolf, submissive and prostrate at his feet, he gave him all the good words he could think of. "I know," said he, "that the king of all creatures wants a supply to appease his hunger, and that he is now ranging the fields in search of food. But I am but an insignificant morsel for his royal stomach. Therefore let him be pleased to take my information. About a furlong from hence lives a fox that is fat and plump, and whose flesh is as white as a capon's. Such a prey will do your majesty's business. If you please, I will go and give him a visit, and engage him to come forth out of his hole. Then, if he prove to your liking, you may devour him, and if not, it will be my glory that I had the honor of dying not in vain, but being a small breakfast for your majesty." Thus over-persuaded, the wolf gave the rabbit leave to seek out the fox, and followed him at the heels. The rabbit left the wolf at the entrance of the hole, and crept in himself, overjoyed that he had such an opportunity to revenge himself on the fox, from whom he had received an affront which he had for a long time pretended to have forgot. He made him a low congé, and gave him great protestations of his friendship. On the other side, the fox was no less obliging in his answers to the rabbit's civilities, and asked him what good wind had blown him thither. "Only the great desire I had to see your worship," replied the rabbit, "and there is one of my relations at the door who is no less ambitious to kiss your hands, but he dares not enter without your permission." The fox on this, mistrusting there is something more than ordinary in all this civility, said to himself, "I shall find the bottom of all this presently, and then, if it proves as I suspect, I will take care to pay this pretended friend of mine in his own coin." However, not seeming to take any notice of what he suspected, "Sir," said he to the rabbit, "your friend shall be most welcome. He does me too much honor. But," added he, "I must entreat you to let me put my chamber in a little better order to receive him." The rabbit, so much persuaded of the good success of his enterprise, "Pooh, pooh," said he, "my relation is one that never stands upon ceremony." And so he went out to give the wolf notice that the fox had fallen into the snare. The wolf thought he had the fox fast already, and the rabbit believed himself quite out of danger, as having done the wolf such a piece of good service. But the fox was too sharp-sighted to be thus trepanned out of his life. He had at the entrance of his hole a very deep trench, which he had digged on purpose to guard himself against surprises of this nature. Presently, therefore, he took away the planks which he had laid for the convenience of those that came to visit him, covered the trench with a little earth and straw, and set open a back door in case of necessity. And having thus prepared all things, he desired the rabbit and his friend to walk in. But instead of the success of their plot, the two visitors found themselves, before they expected it, in the bottom of a very deep pit, and the wolf, imagining that the rabbit had a hand in the contrivance, in the heat of his fury, tore him to pieces. By this you see that finesse and policy signify nothing where you have persons of wit and prudence to deal with. It is very true, said Dimna, but the ox is now proud of his preferment, and thoughtless of danger, at least from me, and he has not the least suspicion of my hatred. A rabbit, wiser than that you have been speaking of, once undertook the ruin of a lion, and you shall see how he brought it about. End of Fable 20.